people that are online and also on the Zoom meeting as well. Alan, would you lead us in the pledge for us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Alan. Appreciate that. Jamie, apparently we have no public comments. We didn't receive any. Okay. All right. First item on our agenda, we do have several of our people that will be speaking tonight on our Zoom. And one of those is our first speaker. This is recognition of the Green River High School FFA student accomplishments. And Liz Tolman, welcome to our meeting.
Hi, thank you. Well, Superintendent Christensen, Chairman Core, members of the board, first, thank you for allowing me to recognize some of our amazing students and their accomplishments this year, especially with how crazy it's been. First off, we have 22 students that earned an industry certification this year. This certification reflects the needs of the real world expectations. It boosts their employability. It allows employers to identify and connect with qualified applicants. To earn these two certifications, each of my students had to pass a very rigorous exam, which was clearly not easy given our circumstances this year. That exam was based off of weighted industry valued and industry accepted standards. So the two ones that we offered this year were veterinary medical applications, and receiving that was Caitlin Farnsworth, Delaney Gardea, Gary Hodges, Olivia Holmes, Ashlyn Jensen, Alexa Losey, Camelin Lloyd, Taylor Mellorn, Jose Ramirez, and Jaden Toman. And all of those students were in the veterinary science class that I teach. The second certification that I was able to offer to my animal science students was a certification in the fundamentals of animal science. Those students included Lucy Adams, Faith Bartashnik, Abby Dolinar, Eden Harcourt, Colby Hester, Ridge Hester, Jay Hook, Adana Jakubowski, Ashton Jasperson, Mercedes Miramontes, Kylie Strange, and Madison Tate. Next year, I hope to offer those along with a Ducks Unlimited Ecology, Conservation, and Management certification, which will be tied to my wildlife management course, and then also a plant science certification, which will be tied to my range management plant science course as well. So I'm pretty excited. It's a hard test and the kids did really, really good on it. So I was very proud, and they were pretty stoked that they actually passed it considering all of our circumstances. So that's about it for our ag students. As far as our FFA students go, we had a couple of firsts. Earning a gold emblem and representing Green River High School in the diversified livestock production proficiency area is Justin Flores. This award honors FFA members who, through supervised agriculture experiences, have developed specialized skills that they can apply toward their future careers. Students from around the state complete rigorous applications and submit their record books that they have kept all through their years in high school on the projects that they have had. So for diversified livestock, it means that that student has had a combination of animals. For Justin, that pertained to his horse, his sheep, and his swine projects that he has shown all throughout his 4 years in high school. So now Justin's application will go on to represent Wyoming at the National FFA Convention, and we're hoping he does pretty well. I think it says a lot that a kid from Green River, not a very ag-based community, can go on and beat all the other students in Wyoming that probably are a little bit more set up for this type of operation. So it was very exciting that he got that. Another very exciting thing that we had happen was another gold emblem in our agri-science fair. So we had two young ladies compete as a team in the social systems division, and that was Delaney Gardea and Camelin Lloyd. They did a science fair project on Green River High School's perception of pork production practices and figured out what our school actually thinks about how pork is raised. They, of course, won the gold emblem for that division. So their project will also go on and compete at the national level and represent Wyoming. Another prestigious award that we have is earning the Wyoming State FFA degree. We had 7 students this year earn that. Let me tell you a little bit about the state FFA degree. It is awarded to FFA members who have demonstrated the highest level of commitment to FFA and made significant accomplishments in their supervised agricultural experiences, or SAEs. When students first enroll in ag education in FFA, they choose a hands-on program of work known as an SAE to track their entire years of high school. These programs help solidify concepts that they learned in the classroom and through FFA experiences. It also incorporates their interests and career goals. SAEs can include animal production, agribusiness experience, or placement in an ag-based job. The state degree is given to the top members in Wyoming FFA, and only less than 10% of our state membership actually receives this degree. So it has quite a significant accomplishment tied to it. Each recipient has shown growth in that chosen SAE. They've demonstrated leadership skills, scholastic achievement, and they've also had participation in community service activities. Our amazing seniors that were awarded this year were Colby Hester, Casey Olson, Reese Allison, Cortland Avery, Nevaeh Adams, Shelby Semper, and Holly Hood. And they are the second batch of kids from Green River High School that have been able to get this award. So kind of something special. Lastly, before we got interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, we had several students qualify for our state competition in our leadership development events. These are the speaking events that we have in FFA. Each of them had a place in the top 2 of our region to be able to move on to state. And there are pretty high stakes there with the schools they're competing against too. Hopefully they will be able to go on and compete at our state level competition whenever that's able to happen. Representing us in extemporaneous speaking is Jessica Petrie. Colby Hester will represent us in prepared public speaking with her speech, Trade That University In and Try a Trade School. And then we also have Jamie Lennon, who will represent us in employment skills and job interview. Even though we weren't able to kind of celebrate these kids how we normally want to, we kicked butt this year, especially for as young as a chapter that we are in a program. I could not be happier with how much these kids have accomplished in the short few years that we've had a chapter. I would just like to say one last thank you for everybody for supporting this program and these students.
Okay, Liz, thank you. Is there any questions from the board?
That's great.
Liz, I have one question. What are your numbers right now in FFA? What's your total numbers?
So in FFA, we probably have about 40 kids that participate and come to stuff. And that's probably out of 90 kids that I have in my classes. I find that a lot of the kids, they like the class, they love learning it, but some of them, it just FFA isn't for them. And I totally understand that. I know FFA isn't for anybody, but I think out of those kids, that 40 that I have, they are dedicated and gung-ho no matter how you go about it.
Okay, I would say that based on the decision that was made a couple of years ago to offer FFA was a good decision by the school board. And I would also say, Liz, as you know, I'm the chairman of the Ducks Unlimited, and we use your kids for our banquet, our annual fundraiser we use every year, and we had them again this year. And I would encourage any organization that's looking for good kids to help them out with whatever they may be doing, that give Liz Tolman a call. And these FFA kids are punctual, they're polite, and we at our banquet we handle a lot of money, and so you got to have a lot of trust there, and they've done a great job. And I would encourage any organization that's looking for kids to help out, and in exchange for a little fundraising money, give Liz a call. Liz, thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Our next is the recognition of Green River High School theater students, Brad Skinner.
All right, Chairperson Core, Superintendent Christensen, members of the board. With so many changes in our lives due to COVID-19 restrictions, it's easy to dwell on the negatives. So it's my pleasure this evening to continue with FFA in being able to share some of the many positive changes that have come from this. On March 27th, Indiana University, the site of the International Thespian Festival, informed the Educational Theater Association that it was canceling all summer activities on campus. So this meant that the International Thespian Festival for 2020 could not take place as an in-person gathering. Although the traditional festival isn't possible in 2020, This once in a year and once in a lifetime Thespian celebration is not being canceled. As all who are familiar with theater know, the show must go on. As such, EDTA announced that the first ever virtual International Thespian Festival will be taking place later this month. And this exciting new format will feature increased opportunities for our students and for students from all over the world to take part in adjudications, college and scholarship auditions, the inaugural International Thespian Excellent Award Showcase, otherwise known as the Thespis Awards, in which several of our students will be competing, viewable performances, workshops, master classes from well-known professionals from within the industry, such as the creator of the movie and musical Mean Girls, Tina Fey, the writers of The Greatest Showman, Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, the iconic singer-songwriter Dolly Parton, and the composer and lyricist of Wicked, Stephen Schwartz, and many more. Our students will be able to meet and network with thespians online from all across the nation and from around the world. The official kickoff of the first ever virtual International Thespian Festival will feature an opening ceremony hosted by Genie from Disney's Aladdin, Michael James Scott, followed by a keynote address from Tony Award-winning Broadway and television director of Hairspray Live and The Wiz Live, Kenny Leon. As amazing and exciting as all this is, I really wanted to share with you that the opening number of this event will be featuring a special choir production featuring 100 students, 2 from every state, combining together for a special musical performance. I love celebrating the amazing things that our students at Green River High School are doing, especially our students in the Performing Arts Department. But it's even better when others recognize the work that our students are doing. Theater directors from around the state and our state chapter director recognize the work of one of our own students, and they have invited Sandra Faginzer to be one of only 2 students to represent the state of Wyoming in this virtual musical performance. We're excited for Sandra to represent Troop 1453, Green River High School, and all of Wyoming at the virtual International Thespian Festival this year. Those of you who saw our production of Bright Star last year know exactly why Sandra was selected to represent our fair state. I thank you for your time, for your support of our department, and for allowing me this opportunity to share this exciting news with you all.
All right, Bradley, thank you very much and congratulations. That's good stuff. Any comments?
Congratulations.
All right, thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
You as well.
Our next is recognition of our Teacher of the Year. And Jamie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman Core and trustees. I would like to introduce to you, I know I've already sent out a press release and this has been in the news, but this year's Teacher of the Year in Sweetwater County School District number 2 is Miss Colleen Sealoff. And I have to tell you, the nominations when they came in, we had some outstanding nominees for this award, and Colleen, the administration at the high school is so proud of the work that she's done over the past year and really examining and digging in and trying to make some improvements in a co-taught classroom. And she works very well with her paras in class, as well as a special education teacher in an effort to try to improve math grades at the high school. And boy, she's always had connections with students. And I know they were very disappointed in the fact that they didn't get to get their Y-top testing done this year, because she was fired up about seeing the results of those kids this year. So really appreciate that. We're very proud of Colleen and wanted to say congratulations to her.
All right. And we as a board want to congratulate Colleen as well. Next up is the approval of the agenda. There's no changes on the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Robin, second by Brenda to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of consent agenda items, board meeting minutes, bills, financial documents, nutrition services report, homeschool requests, current openings, and enrollment. As anybody want to take one of those off and discuss it? I need a motion to approve consent agenda items.
So moved.
Moved by Rochelle, second by Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is just some remarks on graduation ceremonies. I had an opportunity to, I'm sure everybody did see both of those virtual ones. I think we might get stuck with a parade and fireworks from here on out. That was really cool. And I'm so proud of the staff at the high school and so proud of our kids. I mean, it was a difficult situation, and I happened to be kind of at the end of the parade, and the enthusiasm at the end of the parade, if anything like it was at the front, it was amazing how those kids and parents and the community came out for that. I thought they did a great job. Any other comments?
I think that the staff worked together to really put something special together that can, then they can take it with them. It's recorded, they have it. And despite the circumstances, our staff did a wonderful job. And I just want to say thank you. I know it was a lot of work, and I thank Darren and I thanked you, but it's just a wonderful job was done.
Right.
And
Mark?
the fireworks were amazing.
Yeah, Mark, you had a couple of kids graduate, so you kind of
Yeah,
up close and personal on it.
I think it went very well. Appreciate you and on the radio. It was great. You did a great job there, and I think it went as well as it could. Really do. I think there's some memorable things for them, and it'll be things they look back on with some positive remembrance. So
Yeah.
it's good. It's very good.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I was super impressed. I've had people come up to me, every couple of days or reaching out, texting, Facebook messaging, saying that it was awesome. They appreciated it. And one mom who wasn't super excited about it said, after they got to go do the one-on-one diploma, she said I had tears in my eyes. She said it meant something to my kid and it meant something to us. So she said, I really appreciate the high school doing what they did and everybody coming together. And yeah, I think the parade and fireworks needs to be a tradition that we carry on for these kids. So
Ashley?
Yeah, same. I got a lot of really positive comments also on the signs along Uinta. A lot of people really liked that, and that the kids could take those home too.
Yeah. Robin?
Yeah, I heard the same kinds of things. I think my son, who teaches at the high school, he was more excited over this than he has about any other graduation. He said it was just so awesome. You really got to see what the kids could do, some of their talents. He was just thrilled with the whole thing, and I enjoyed every moment of it. I'm crying through it.
Yeah.
My husband's hitting me. Like, what are you crying? It was just so neat that it was moving.
Yeah, very well done. And special shout out to Nancy Ryder. I know she put a lot of work into that, so we appreciate that. Next item is to consider approval of certified resignations request. Mr. Foos, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Core, Superintendent Christensen, trustees. We have one resignation for your consideration for approval tonight. That is Adam Baker, science teacher at Lincoln Middle School.
Need a motion, please? Moved by Robin,
Second.
second by Ashley, to approve the resignation of Adam Baker. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, consider approval of the 2021 new certified contracts. Dr. Foos?
Okay, thank you, Chairman Core, Superintendent Christensen, trustees. Natalie Gomez is coming to us, and we continue to find some local good ones. And thank you for your consideration for approval for her contract.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the contract for Natalie Gomez. Moved by Robin,
Second.
second by Rochelle, to approve Natalie Gomez as the SPED teacher part-time at Truman Elementary School. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is here, report on the reopening plan. Mr. Christensen, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Core. Trustees, what I've got up here on the screen right now is a draft of our reopening plan. I think statewide districts are waiting for a template to use, and I know there's some subcommittee work going on at the State Department in coming up with something for us. But I really believe that we're a little bit ahead of the game, even if the template looks different than what we've got. It's a start, and we can plug some things in. One of the first things we did was found the need to try to get a variance approved to open up our weight room, our open gym, small group instruction at the for some summer school if that need became apparent. And we've got that going right now. That was of June 1st. And so going through with the Department of the local county health officer and Dr. Harris at the Wyoming Department of Health, we back and forth on that June 1st request and had that approved. So we've started out, and that started on June 1st, last Monday. And, had some bumps along the way there, but I know Tony's been working closely with the coaches at the high school and making sure we're trying to keep those students separated. And it's very important we do that because our goal is to try to do this thing right. And so they've got that going up there. And I think the kids are enjoying it, and they were looking forward to getting started on it. It's apparent by the numbers that are involved in that. But we've got some small group stuff going on. The difficulty initially was the small groups themselves, keeping them separated, but it's going well. And part of this, if you look at the people we've got on this initial, the committee members, I've got Superintendent Behringer on there, Tony Beardsley, Doug Hamill, Alan Demaray, Chris Dean. There's a lot of components to this because it's very complex, I guess I'd say. It seems like one thing trickles over into another, and at the heart of it all is the work that's being done in the background by all these folks. And then there's some subcommittee work going on with HR, with curriculum, with activities, some of those areas that is going to be essential when we get started. So the initial part of this, one of the pieces that was important to Dr. Station was the signage that you saw on the front door when you came in. And then upon facility entry, there were some things that we were back and forth. We've also got a sign-off sheet, an acknowledgement by our staff members and students to be able to participate in that. And you can see what that looks like for the employee right here in the plan as well. So we've got those in there, and those are distributed down here this week. Let me get down here a little bit further. Okay, I'm getting close. Okay, well, we started examining what it might look like in the fall semester. And I think there's still a lot of unknowns. I think one thing that we need to be very clear about for all of our students and parents and kids is that school is starting on August 19th. It is starting. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but it's starting. It may be a blend of distance education and in-person education, or maybe we're all face-to-face or distance. But I think we've got some work to do there. But we've certainly got have some things started on which we're examining everything from the start of the day to the end of the day and what that looks like. For instance, I know that Rachel's working on a transportation plan. She's working closely with the city of Green River right now to try that out as we work through it. And we also know that food service or nutritional services, Leah and her staff, they jumped right on that. We know clear back in March, it seems like a decade ago already, but clear back in March when they started, they had to really put into practice some of these precautionary procedures right off the bat. But, so as you follow the way students track through school, I think our goal has got to be to, keep the virus out as much as possible, reduce the probability of transmission, and really try to, try to reduce the density wherever we can, the density of people in one place. So what that came to us yesterday that I shared with our committee yesterday was a draft plan, a draft reopening plan from the University of Wyoming. And I really like the structure of that. And I know that in there's a pre-return plan. Today, Jason and the HR department have assigned district-wide some annual videos that employees will have to watch prior to returning to work, and that will allow. It's kind of like what we do with bloodborne pathogens, duty to report, those kind of things. But they're videos that are informative about how to keep your area clean, about symptoms of the virus, etc. So that's one piece of this pre-return. This is very draft-like at this point, but we do have a lot of ideas down, and I have to tell you, I appreciate the work of everybody involved in that. It's a Monday meeting every Monday at 10 o'clock, and highly attended and we get some good feedback. The next step is I'm going to invite some parents to be a part of, not necessarily that, but at least run some of these things by them and get some input from them on it. So that's kind of where we're at. But I can tell you the other person has been highly involved whenever he can be involved is Craig. I know Craig Behringer is still finishing up in Montana, but whenever he has an opportunity, he joins us for those meetings and other meetings as well.
Okay, any questions? This is going to be a monumental document. I guess I'm looking forward to reading it whenever it gets done. I guess I know Craig's on the Zoom with us, and Craig, if you could join us, that'd be great. You'll be taking over the district starting July 1, Craig, and how do you envision this being approved by the board? I assume it'll have to take board approval, or how does that work, or what are you thinking?
You know, I've really just sat in and listened on what they've done, and Jamie's put together a very diverse group, like he said, with lots of great ideas. We're doing something similar here in Libby, and we have stolen a lot of what is being done in Green River and putting it in ours. It's very detailed, covers a lot of bases, and you know, it's hard to tell what August is going to look like, but I would say this document that they've put together is pretty comprehensive.
So would you anticipate that the board approve this at the July meeting, you're thinking? Or will we have, I guess, Jamie, you can pipe in, will we have to get clearance through all these other people, state people, that this is a good document?
Yeah, I think that's the route we would have to take initially is, first of all, our document has to be within the guidelines of what the governor is saying. And then locally, it would have to run through the county health officer and then the state Department of Health. And at that point, I would envision that Craig would bring that back to the board for approval at that point. But I think there's, like Craig said, I think there's a lot that's up in the air right now. And I'm really proud of this group because I don't think we're sitting around on our hands waiting for somebody else to tell us what to do, but looking at our local situation and coming up with some ideas, because part of this planning has to do with trying to anticipate and foresee differing scenarios that may occur as the school year starts.
And I guess I would encourage, prior to voting on this, if it's in July or it's the August meeting, that we have copies available, not to keep, but to have the parents and patrons of the district to, at least if they feel like they want to read through it, have it available at the schools, have it available here at central office, and even have it available online where they can just scroll through it and read through it. But I think a working document so the patrons can see it before we vote on this, I think would be good.
Mr. Core, I think that one of the things that needs to happen too, and I know Greg's in the middle of this, and Alan as well, and we're thinking about teachers coming back to school. We've got to wrap our minds, I think, get a mindset that, you know, even if we start the way that we envision starting every school year, even if we have that opportunity, we have to be prepared and flexible enough to have some availability of some distance stuff. And I know that's what Greg, and when I say distance stuff, distance instruction, because there are going to be students who are going to be gone. They're going to be students whose parents don't feel comfortable with them coming back. They're going to be students who maybe have some symptoms that they need to stay away for a while, and the same with teachers. So we've got to wrap our minds around being very, very flexible going into this thing.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you, Jamie. Thanks for joining us, Craig. Appreciate it. Next up is 7.02, consider approval to apply for building-wide Title I at Washington Elementary School. Mr. Ferginzer, and I believe we have Anne Marie Covey and Gail Kindle on the line as well. But Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Core, Superintendent Christensen, Board of Trustees. We're going to start with Anne Marie talking this evening about how she sees the importance of being a Title I school-wide school at Washington. And a lot of the work that will go into that will replicate the work that has taken place at Truman, not only in the past, but in the rewriting of their Title I plan that we had to resubmit this year. So I will turn it over to Anne Marie Covey, and then we will have Gail come in after that and talk a little bit about how the funding works, so we have a full understanding of where the money is coming from and how it can be used. So I'll turn it over to Anne Marie.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, Chairman Core, Superintendent Christensen, and Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight to ask for your approval, along with Mr. Frigenzer and Ms. Kendall, for Washington to apply for the Title I school-wide grant. And during the 2019-20 school year, we saw our free and reduced rate at Washington reach 44% of our students. And one of the requirements by the state to participate in this application process is to reach that 40% mark. So that was one of the main components that we've been watching, and we have reached that. And along that line, becoming school-wide title gives us the ability to support all of our students at Washington Elementary in the area of reading and math interventions, and not just our targeted students like we have been in the past. It also gives us an opportunity to parents' parental engagement and educational opportunities, again, not just to those targeted students, families as we have before, as well as professional development for all of the Washington Elementary staff, and not just our identified Title I students, which is very exciting. And also, the staff is excited about beginning this process and moving forward, and looking forward to the opportunities that school-wide title could bring to Washington and to our students, our parents, as well as our staff.
Okay, any questions of Anne Marie? Okay, Gail, it's all yours. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Hey, good evening, Chairman Core and Superintendent Christensen and members of the board. As Greg mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit, just share some information with you about how the Title I grant works and how that funding comes in to the district and how we budget that money. I'll talk a little bit about some additional advantages. Anne Marie mentioned several of those, but some additional advantages for the school if they are approved to go with a school-wide title program. And then I also just wanted to briefly share with you a little bit of information about the process and how that works for a school to be approved. So when you look at grants that come into districts, educational grants, there's two types of grants that come in. We have competitive grants and we have formula grants. So competitive grants would be like our BOCES grants, where we're actually writing the grant and then competing with other educational entities for that funding. Formula grants are all of our federal monies, so all of the title grants that we have come in, so including Title I. So that money comes to the district based on a formula. We still have to apply for the money, and we have to show that we're going to meet all of the legal requirements that are associated with that grant. So Title I money comes in through its federal tax money that is distributed out to states based on their current census data. The money comes into the State Department, and then that money is distributed out from the State Department to each of the districts based on their free and reduced lunch percentages. So that's how the money comes in. And just so you kind of have an idea of how much money we have that comes in on Title I over the past 5 years. So about 5 years ago, we had just over $500,000 that came in, and we averaged that for the next couple of years. The last 2 years, we've seen a pretty good jump in that, and we've been about $750,000 in that grant, both of the last 2 years. So that's a pretty significant increase. And mainly that's due to President Trump has been pretty supportive in his administration to providing additional funding for poverty types of programs. And so that's why we saw such a jump the last couple of years. So when the money comes in, how we budget that money is all determined and based on federal law. So for instance, this year we have about $732,000. As soon as we get the money, the first thing that we do there are district set-asides, money that we have to take off the top. So we have to take 10% off the top of that. That goes into parent and family engagement. So just over $7,300 for this year. We pay indirect costs to the district from that grant, and that's for this year just over $32,000. There's a homeless set aside that we use to help provide additional support to homeless students who are identified as homeless or in transition in the district. And then we also have another set aside for neglected and delinquent children. We have about $3,000 that we put into that particular category. We use that at the alternative high school to help pay for an after-school program for credit recovery, and also to help kids catch up and make sure that they're on track for graduation. And then we put money off the top into professional development. And as Anne Marie mentioned when she was talking about one of the advantages for going school-wide, when a school moves to school-wide funding, then that professional development can work and train all of their staff. As a targeted school, which Washington is right now, we can only use that money to provide training to the Title I staff. So anyway, after we get all of those set-asides off the top, and for this year, that's just over $125,000. It ends up being about 17 to 20% of the money off the top. Okay, what's left, the other 80% of that money, is then divided out based on a formula to each one of the schools that qualify to receive Title I funding. So in order to qualify for a school to qualify for Title I funding, they have to have over 30% of their students qualify for free and reduced lunch. Once a school reaches that threshold, then they can receive Title I funds. So the amount of money that is left after those set-asides is then divided up by the number of students in the schools that qualify for free and reduced lunch. So this year we have 3 schools that qualify. That is McKinnon, Washington, and Truman. So a total count of the students that qualify for free and reduced lunch at those 3 buildings is 222 students. So we take the amount that is left out after we take off our set-asides, and then that's divided by 222, and then each one of those schools gets the amount based on how many students they have qualify at their school. So McKinnon, for example, McKinnon has 5 students this year that qualify for free and reduced lunch. So their percent or their amount of that money is just over $13,000. Washington has 78 students, so they'll get just over $213,000. And then Truman has 139 students, and so they'll receive $380,000. So those numbers don't change whether you are a school-wide program or a targeted program. The money is still the same. It's just what you get to do with your money. So right now, just so you kind of have an idea, when we look at the school budgets and start setting those up, about 75% of that money goes to pay for staff. And we pay for 3.5 teachers this year, and we'll pay for 10 paras, and then we also pay about a third of the salary and benefits on one of the instructional facilitators. So that's the biggest part of our money goes to pay for staff. That's another reason why it is such an advantage for a school to go with a school-wide program, because we're paying for those staff anyway. We want to get the most use out of those staff that we can as far as benefiting students and the students that they're allowed to work with. So, for example, at Truman, all of the staff that we pay out of Title I, they can work with any student at that school. At Washington, they can only work with students that qualify for Title I services. So they're very limited in who they get to work with. And I know as we looked at some of the improvements that have taken place at Truman over the past few years, going from a school that was in needs of improvement to a blue ribbon school, one of the huge advantages was when they went to a school-wide program, then they were able to provide services to all the students in their school with their Title I staff. And I know, as we've looked at Washington and we see some of the needs that we want to help meet at Washington, that would be definitely be to their advantage to be able to use their staff to work with every one of the students at Washington, not just limited to the students that qualify for Title I services. So about 75% of that money goes to staff. About 15% of the money goes to staff development. And again, it's definitely to a school's advantage to go to a school-wide program, because then we can use that money to train all of their staff instead of just their Title I staff. And then we also have some of the money that goes, about 12%, the remaining 12% that goes towards supplies for the program that we use, which is the LLI program, or the Leveled Literacy Intervention program that we use with our Title I students. So we're able to purchase all of our supplies that we need for that. So there's definitely some advantages for the school to go school-wide as far as how they can use their staff and how they can use their money. If you look at when I worked at Washington, this just to kind of give you an idea of what this looked like. If we had a student that, say the student came in and we knew that there were some concerns, they weren't meeting the academic standards at the level that they needed to. And there could have been several reasons for that. So maybe that student had moved in from a different district, and so they were a little bit behind where we were. Maybe there were some disruptions in their family which caused some stress that might have interfered with their learning. Maybe they were absent a lot, moving around a lot, but we weren't looking at necessarily kids that we might look at with a learning disability or qualifying for special education services. We were looking at students that had gaps. So those were the students that we were then referring for Title I. They would be screened, but if they didn't qualify, if their screening results weren't quite low enough, then we could not provide services for those students. When a school has school-wide funding for Title I, then we don't have to go through that process. We can provide those services to all students, and we don't have to limit who we provide for. So definitely an advantage for the school. So as far as the process for a school to move from targeted to Title I services to school-wide program services, as Anne-Marie mentioned, they have to have at least 40% free and reduced lunch rate. And what they're really looking for there is just a high concentration of students that are considered, like by law, under federal law, to be living in poverty. And so that allows you to open up and provide services to all of your students. So 40% is the threshold when you can then look at applying. So the first step in applying for school-wide title services is receiving board approval. That's what we're here for tonight. If board approval is granted, then we send a formal letter, a statement of intent, the Wyoming Department of Education. And then there is a year-long process that is involved before they can be granted approval to go school-wide. So this is a pretty lengthy process. It's quite involved. There's about 9 steps involved. There's several meetings that are held throughout the year, and a lot of work with both support from the district office as the school moves towards completion of that plan. But just to give you an idea of what is involved in the plan itself, there's several stakeholder groups that have to be set up that will work on this plan. So some of that is going to be involving staff, but there's also other stakeholders involved. We definitely want parents involved in that process and creating this plan. Once the committees are set up, then there's a comprehensive needs assessment that takes place, looking back through several different sources of data and analyzing that data to help determine what's the actual cause, or what is the areas that what are the areas that we need to focus to get the school up where we need it to be and to get students achieving where we need them to be. Once the comprehensive needs assessment is completed, then we start looking at some research-based programs and instructional practices that can help us to meet those identified needs. After that, then we look at what types of professional development can we bring in to help support the staff. We look at how we can include parents and improve our parent engagement in both this plan and in what's taking place at the school. We look at transition strategies and how to strengthen those on both ends. So how do we strengthen our relationship with students coming into the school, working with preschools and other programs in the community so that we have a better idea of what needs are going to be coming to the school and how can we best address those specific needs. And then also looking at working with the middle school on when we transition students out, what kind of supports are going to be provided for them once they leave the K-5 schools. We look at how we're going to assess students throughout the program and as we make these changes, and how we're going to coordinate those efforts with other programs in the school. So in the case of Washington, we're looking at how are we coordinating our efforts with special education and also with the BEST program. And then the last and final step is how we're going to monitor the effectiveness and evaluate the success of the program. And then what would our next steps be for the following year? So it's a pretty lengthy process. Once the plan is completed, then the submission date on that is the next August. So it wouldn't be this coming August of 2020, but it would be August of 2021. Then it's submitted to the state. And if it's approved, then it goes into effect for that school year. So we're actually looking at the 2021-2022 school year is when, if approved, then that would be when Washington would be able to move to school-wide funding. So that I went through that kind of fast, and it's kind of difficult from doing this virtually because I can't really see your faces to see if there's some questions or anything. But so let me just open that up and ask you, are there any questions that you have concerning the funding or how that comes in, or the budgeting or the process for school-wide?
Any questions?
No, you explained it very well.
Explained it very well. And the one question I had was when it's going to effect, and it's 21, 22. So we can talk dollars later down the road, but we don't have any questions there. Gail, nice job.
Okay, thank you so much. And if you do have questions, please feel free to contact me.
Okay, thank you. Greg?
So really, and what we're trying to do is just give flexibility to Washington schools so they can meet the needs of their kids to the best of their ability. And right now, the way it's structured with our targeted assistant program, it's a great program, but we've moved beyond it because we have a greater need. So we're just asking for that approval. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the application for a building-wide Title I at Washington Elementary School.
So moved.
Moved by Rochelle, second by Robin. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. What are you laughing at?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gail. Thank you very much. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Appreciate it. Next item is consider approval of the bid request results for an engraver at Lincoln Middle School. And I think Mickelson's on the line. I think we should make him work. What do you think? Matt, are you there? I think I saw him there.
Matt just said he got kicked off.
Okay, how convenient. Chris, thank you for showing up for the meeting.
All right.
Welcome.
Chairman Corr, Superintendent Christensen, trustees, we're recommending approval. We did receive one bid from High Country Technology for the laser engraver at Lincoln for $33,390. And request your approval on that.
Okay, I need a motion to approve this. Moved by Robin, second by Brenda to approve the only bidder for the engraver from High Country Technology Consultants, $33,390. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Consider approval of the bid for the mower. Mr. Hamill, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board. On June 2nd, those are the bid results of the only bidder that we had for our wide area mower. Really only expected one.
Yeah. And actually, the estimate was 80,000, if you remember. So,
yep,
pretty much on. So the equipment is RMT equipment for 79,897. Let's get a motion. We'll ask questions. I need a motion. Moved by Robin, second by Brenda. Discussion.
I just asked some questions because it seems like a lot of money for a lawnmower. Can you just do some special things or something?
So these lawnmowers last the district 15 years or so.
We've had them for a
Yeah,
long time. I
and
just didn't know what they did.
and RM or Jacobson is really the only mower that makes a wide area mower anymore, and they're a good mower. They're going to last the district a long time.
They're just big.
I've seen them. I just, wow.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next item, consider approval to go out to bid for oil, gas, and fluids. Is Rachel with us?
Yes, hello. Chairman Corr, Superintendent Christensen, and Board of Trustees. We are requesting authorization to go out for bid for our yearly use of fuel, oil, DEF, and antifreeze for our transportation department.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Rochelle, second by Ashley. Go out to bid for fuel, oil, DEF, and antifreeze for the transportation department. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nice job, Rachel. That was quick. Next item is consider approval of the general fund budget amendment, and here an update for the 2019. Would that be the 2020? Oh, this year's budget. Okay. Welcome back, Chris. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Chairman Corr, Superintendent Christensen, and trustees. Before we get started, I just want to mention that we're going to give you an update on how this budget year is coming to fruition here. And
before you go on, Chris, Doug, could you move that podium out that way, or Chris move it out?
Oh, yeah, I
don't
can do that.
I don't think Robin can see you. There we go. There we go. There we go. Sorry about the camera angle there, but the flag was in the way.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that tonight. So, but at the May meeting, the recommendations that you recall we made, and we did do a budget amendment in May. And at that time, there was anticipation that the legislature might increase the cash reserve limit. And anyway, that did not happen. And so we're monitoring every week, watching our revenue. And also I would like to say that the directors and the supervisors have been really thoughtful and diligent on things that they can do to implement their budget plan this year with the school closure that affected everything. So I'd like to start by giving you an update on the revenue. This year, we just did get our final county check. Well, we'll be getting it probably tomorrow. And it did come in $213,000 less than what we expected. And part of that was due to a non-payment of county taxes due to a bankruptcy, as well as there was a reduction in fines and forfeitures revenue this year. I guess people are behaving all of a sudden, I don't know. But at any rate, part of that revenue shortfall on the non-payment of county taxes will come back to us next year in the tax shortfall grant on the funding model. So we're good there. That'll be a timing issue. In looking at some of the savings that we've realized due to the school closure, we've had a savings in utilities, of course. Savings on transportation fuel, we talked about that last time. Of course, the spring activities, sports travel, there was a ton of savings there. And substitute teachers in summer school, those are just to name a few that had some significant savings. And a lot of the pieces of the amendment did take care of some of these things. But for example, the mower that we were normally going to take out of our equipment reserve fund because of the high cost of it can now be paid for by the general fund. So we'll still keep our equipment reserve intact. That's one example there. As you know, Doug and Nancy have been spending money like crazy on personal protective equipment, trying to get their hands on what we need. And right now we're sitting at $55,000 for masks and sanitizer and all that kind of stuff. It does add up pretty fast. Within transportation, of course, we saved a ton of money in fuel costs, $46,000. And we did upgrade our transportation software, which it was in need of it. We've been on the same system for at least 14 years. And it was definitely time for an upgrade on that. And then also an upgrade on our bus cameras. And we've also had those in place for quite a while. That's going to help us. Also within activities, we were able to do some advanced purchase of supplies and some equipment needs that we've had to kind of pick up the slack there. I've already mentioned the tax shortfall grant that will come back to us next year. Also, we just did learn today that the CARES Act grant that we need to apply for, the application is almost ready. We're still waiting, but they did say that it should be approved anytime now. And at that point, the districts can start the process of applying for the grant. And some of the pieces of that grant will be things like this, the costs that we've incurred this year to reimburse the district, the $55,000, for example, for that was not planned for. Those types of things can be part of this grant as well. But as of today, I just want to say that we think we're on track to reach a 14.2% of cash reserve limit, which would be $8,146,000. It does include our pre-97 cash reserve, as well as our impact aid designation that we made last meeting. So I just want to tell you that we're watching this every week. We have orders out. We need to make sure the orders get in. And my anticipation is hopeful that we do not need another amendment before the end of this year.
Okay, great. Is our school bus going to get here?
Our school bus will be picked up tomorrow.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
We got to have that before the 1st
Yes.
of July.
Yes, we are thankful for that.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Okay, next item is superintendent board comments. Mark, I'll start with you. Got anything you want to add?
I hope everybody has a good summer. You need to be out getting some sunlight. Staying under the roof doesn't help that much. So enjoy the fresh air and sun, and hopefully we get to have some fun summer.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Ashley.
I just wanted to thank Jamie for guiding us and leading us through all of this. I think these past few months were not what he expected for his last few months to be like, but thank you for the many hours and early mornings, late nights, trying to keep on top of everything. Being on that reopening committee, you just see how much it's like 1 week you think it's going to go this way, the next week something's changed. So so I just wanted to tell you thank you, and thank you to staff and admin and everybody for being flexible with us. And thank you, Chris. I know you've got a lot to keep up with too, with everything changing all the time too. So just a big thank you to everyone, and have a great summer.
All right, thank you, Rochelle.
Yeah, I want to say to Jamie, I'm like, I know this isn't the last time that we'll see you, but it's really been a joy working with you the last few months. And I still think if there's a job in this district you want to apply for, you should really do that. We will miss you greatly. You've been amazing, and I appreciate all the communication you've given us. It's been really helpful. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And to everybody out there, I know staff and everybody's worked really hard, but I don't want to take away from, this was an extremely difficult time for people. This was hard. It was hard for teachers. It was hard for parents. It was hard for kids. A lot of these kids have struggled not being able to see friends and getting the social interaction and just getting the love and hugs that they get from school that they may not get elsewhere. So I pray as we go forward with this, we see something where those kids are getting all their needs met in a way that's healthy and safe for all of them. But it definitely has not been easy. So kudos to everybody for pulling up their bootstraps and just getting the work done.
Okay, Rochelle, thanks. Brenda?
I can ditto everything. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, staff, for the graduation, and Jamie for the job you've done this last few months, and as well as your tenure. It's been great. I did want to update the board on the WSBA. They've started their Ignite Wyoming campaign, and that correlates with educating the legislators on what districts are doing to work within the business community, because there's a disconnect at the legislature that they don't think districts are working with the business community, and we are. And so the idea is to make sure that we're educating everyone, but specifically targeting our legislators. And so the Ignite Wyoming campaign is a part of that process. And so that launched during this COVID break. And one of our artists, actually, his was selected. He's not with us, but he's from Lander, but
Zach Even.
he was one of our graduates, a Green River High School graduate. CDC continues to meet. We're still doing it virtually, but they did, I think, follow a lot of our plans because we had the best staff on target there, and so they taught remotely, and so that was really good as well. And then BOCES is welcoming back kids to CBARV. They've got kids coming back, which was a tough deal, but again, they too watched our plan and kind of followed that, and so it's been a busy time, but I'm ready to get back to whatever the new normal is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you guys.
Thank you, Brenda. Robin?
I think I would just like to congratulate our whole staff within our district. I've never been, I'm going to get teary-eyed because I've been so amazed how amazing the people who work for School District 2 are, and how resilient they are, and how flexible they are. And I think most of all, how caring. So I just like to tell everybody who works for this school district, I couldn't be prouder to be part of it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robin. I mentioned it to some of the board members when I came in. I went into Mini Mart, and the lady in there asked me if I was a teacher, and I said, no, I'm on the school board. And her eyes kind of lit up, and she said, whatever you guys do, please, please, please get our kids back in the buildings. And we're going to do everything we can to make that happen. We obviously have some stringent guidelines we have to follow, but we'll do everything in our power to get that done. I think we all feel that way as long as we're following our guidelines. So that would be my message to the public. Work hard to get that done. And this is the time we say goodbye to Jamie, unless we want to call a special meeting in a couple of weeks, which could be not a bad idea. But
It's summer.
Jamie, I had an opportunity to work with you in a professional level. I believe it was in, I don't know, when did you become the football coach in Rock Springs? 99?
Yeah.
1999. And so I got to work with Jamie in a professional manner. And Jamie knows this story, but I think it's important to let the people know that Jamie helped me grow as a sportscaster in this issue that happened between the two of us when I let slip something that I shouldn't have let slip, that he told me kind of off the cuff. And he called me, and when I called the next week, he chewed on me a little bit and said, don't do that and don't do this. And so I want you to know, Jamie, I grew from that situation that happened. I think you know what I'm talking about. The other thing that made me so proud about Jamie Christensen and our ability to get him in Green River, because I knew he was going to be a superstar educator, was how Jamie handled the situation. I believe it was your second state championship game. That week, he had a student that committed suicide. It was on the football team. And how you handled that, Jamie, impressed the heck out of me. I don't know, that doesn't bring back a very good memory for you, but I remember that distinctly, and how well you handled that, and how the parents of that student brought that to light, that this is an issue in schools. And Jamie, you kind of took the front on that, and I appreciate you doing that. Not to say I was involved in the interview when we brought Jamie here as a principal. It was a great move, and then he became an assistant superintendent, and he has been our superintendent, took over in this district in September. And Jamie, you've done a great job. We're going to miss you. I agree with what Rochelle just said. If something comes up that tweaks you and you might want to get back into the Green River School District, we would obviously welcome you with open arms. But you're now in retirement. I don't know what your plans are, but I know you tell me that you are planning on getting on the golf course a little more. So we thought we might help you with a piece of equipment. The school board, we want to give you a gift and thank you for your service to this district. And I think every time you pull a driver out, or a putter, or a wedge, just whatever you do, don't let Jason Foose teach you how to hit a wedge. And don't let me teach you how to putt, I can tell you that. But anyway, we got you this gift, and it's a gift from our heart. We appreciate you and appreciate what you've done. So, you know, it pains me to show the public this, because it's not brown and gold. It's not brown and gold. It's red and white. Red and white. And I know that your walking days are over. Trust me, with this bag, you're not going to be walking. So you're going to be in a cart. So I was thinking about you on that. So here you go.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
So now I'll let you finish this board meeting with your comments.
All right. Well, you know, I really appreciate that, you guys, and your comments. And I'm really afraid to try to pull everybody out individually, because I'll know I'll miss somebody. But I know that, I tell you, I'm very, very proud to be a part of this organization and associated with this school board and associated with every leader and teacher in this district, because it's just been a really special place for me to work and grow. And I've learned a ton from my time here, and what the leadership and the staff did in the last 3 months. And like I said, I don't know about you guys, I just look back and feel like it feels like it's been a year ago since we left that state basketball tournament and up there. And I'm sure going to miss a whole lot of people in this district, but I'll still be around. And I think Craig's going to be outstanding. He's been involved as much as he possibly can be in meetings and whatnot along the way. And I feel like he's gonna come right in and do a great job. But I just can't say enough about how much I have appreciated support and fellowship and collegiality of the people here in Green River. And it's really a special district. It very much is.
All right. Well, congratulations.
And I got to say one more thing. Anybody see, Justin Flores' pig was like tight. That thing looked like it was going to blow up.
Yeah. 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 That he's a pretty special kid. He does some good stuff. All right. So that's all we have. We do not have an executive session. We will probably have a workshop, I think, once Craig gets here. And I really want to have that workshop, Jamie, before you leave with the board and talk about the transition and some of the things that we're talking about in terms of getting kids back into schools. I think it's important. So I'm thinking maybe towards the end of June, but I'll send an email out and we'll figure out a date when we can kind of work together and get on that. Okay. All right. Thank you for your attendance tonight. Thanks for those folks watching tonight. And thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.